Okay, so I found that picture that people are keep passing around. It's a picture of a beach scene in the 1950s and 1960s, and if you look closer, all the bodies look like they're very slim, very proportional, I guess would be healthy, you know, relative to our expectations of what health is. And so now this propaganda is going around that, oh yeah, the food supply was so much better back in the 1950s and 1960s, and now the food supply has destroyed the people. And I'm like, I know this is coming from the anti-GMO, coming from all of the discriminators out there that want to demonize elements in foods and people. So I'm going to set that one straight too. All right, so I looked up the average lifespan over there in the 1950s and 1960s. Found out it's age 52 years old. Now, why would a lifespan be 52 years old back then? Oh, because there weren't as many vaccines. The viruses were still around, and they didn't have a lot of newfangled ways to manipulate your immune system, which is, I guess, vaccines. They didn't have the medicine back then that we have today. So people were dying younger. But that's the way Mother Nature works. If your body contracts cancer, disease, and chronic illness, you're supposed to pass away. That was the rule back in the 1300s when they had a population of however many people, and then a big virus came in and tried to cleanse the earth. And so, yes, 75 million to 200 million people perished. Who were those people? The weak. Who are the weak people? The elderly, the children, and the immunocompromised. Okay? And then it took the stress off the earth, took the stress off the economy. Yes, they went into an upset of homeostasis, but then they started seeing their businesses come back. There's a lot more room for people, and they weren't competing as much. But then what happens is that humans, because we're very crafty, we get smart. And we try to find ways to beat Mother Nature, which we do for a certain amount of time until the balance then comes back again. Okay, so back in 1796, the first smallpox, the first vaccine was put out there, and that was a smallpox vaccine. Okay, and I mean, allegedly, yes, smallpox has been eradicated off this earth. And I was watching something about Bill Gates today, and it's pretty interesting Netflix video. So if you guys ever get a chance to watch Netflix, go watch the Bill Gates stuff. Very, very interesting. He actually is a really good guy. Anyways, so fast forward to like the 1900s. Yeah, we go through all these different world wars and the building of America. And then you're getting now to then after World War II and World War I, now we have like the 1950s. And people are dying at 52. And then we're seeing a steadily increase in the obesity factor. Well, if you're supposed to die when you contract a cancer or a disease or a chronic illness, and then modern medicine comes in and gives you a vaccine, gives you a layer of protection so you don't die, because if you are weak, then that is then your license to die according to Mother Nature. Because if you didn't have any medicine at all and you were out there on the prairie off grid with no modern conveniences, you would pass away at age 31, because that actually was the average lifespan back in the 1300s, was age 31. So that almost is like maybe like a bear. I mean, I don't know what the lifespan of bears are, but back when, I mean, right now, if you look at what's a bear in the woods, what's their lifespan? Bear lifespan. 20 years for a giant panda, okay, which is not that. And then let's see, how long can a bear live in the wild? 25 years. So if we didn't have modern medicine and vaccines and holistic stuff, all right, and we were just living by the seat of our pants, we would have the average lifespan of a bear. 25, 30 years, 20 to 30 years of a grizzly bear in the wild. But no, we have modern medicine. So we have found ways to manipulate Mother Nature to prolong our life. But when you manipulate Mother Nature, guess what? You have to pay the piper. You're not going to live at 100% of what you deserve if you're not bringing in the right nutrition. So if you're manipulating Mother Nature with pills, powder supplements, and detoxes, and vaccines, and prescription drugs, and immunotherapies, and I don't know, taking out organs and taking out cancers, doing all this stuff, yes, you're going to prolong your life. Yes, you'll be able to live, but you will be less than where you were before. But you were already less than, you already contracted cancer. So according to Mother Nature, you should have died when you contracted that cancer. But no, man has decided, okay, we want you to live. We don't care about the quality of your life. We want you to live despite the misery. Now, not everybody who has cancer and who has sicknesses and handicaps are miserable, but you're still at a deficit. And when you're immunocompromised at a deficit and you're living longer, you're going to be glitching, making bad choices. And so life expectancy increased from 52 to then 70 in like 2010. But then you see the major glitching. And look at our presidents. They're in their 70s. You really think they're making the best decisions on a body that's decaying? I don't think so. You're seeing our society have more cancer, disease, and chronic illness because people are being given all these different procedures and allowing modern medicine to go in and do stuff, as well as holistic remedies. And we're buying people time that Mother Nature says you really don't deserve, but if you're going to do it, you're going to be at a deficit, okay? You're not going to be 100% a whole person as if, you deserve to like be 100% at full capacity. No, you're going to have major issues. And we see that in our society, okay? So mothers, and so then also too, we're reproducing on bodies that are highly traumatized. So not only are we increasing the life expectancy by playing God and playing with Mother Nature and fooling her, but then we're also reproducing on bodies that are highly traumatized. And so we have these kids that are severely imbalanced, where they're way left brain or way right brain, or they're missing the empathic hormone, where they're just straight up no feeling, and then they're out to kill, or who knows what else. Or they're so smart, but they lack social skills. So yeah, they can read a book and they can do math problems, but they cannot at all interact with anybody around them. So there's no point in being smart if they don't have the social skills. Okay, so we are now reproducing kids that are severely imbalanced and glitching, and then are depressed, committing suicide, shooting people up, terrorizing and bullying people. I mean, you're looking all over the internet. Look at all your Facebook. Look at all the different CNN and Fox. And I say, oh, I don't watch TV. Well, you should, because you should see how much your society is decaying, because you're contributing to the chaos if you are not looking at how to balance out the body to where you actually earn your place on this earth. Because right now we are living longer, but we are glitching longer, and then we're seeing people are actually dying sooner. So now Mother Earth is going like, or Mother Nature is going like, okay, so you messed with me back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s with all the vaccines and all the modern procedures. However, every single time you reproduce, and every single time a generation dies off, you reproduce, your children are going to be weaker. So that is Mother Nature getting back at you and keeping the balance, because eventually all of your procedures that you guys are doing, all of your pills, powder, detoxes are not going to work on these severely weak bodies. You give a vaccine to give a kid a transition point, they won't be able to handle it because they can't even handle the environment. They're coming into this world that is so full of data, and they're at a major deficit because every single generation is procreating on bodies that have never resolved the sins of the father. Okay? So that is why we have all this crap. That's why we have pedophilia. That's why we have sexual predators. That's why we have people who bully each other. That's why we have war. That's why we have all of these crazy people doing like horrific things to each other, with all these different procedures and pills and the politics and the activism and the fear and the hatred and the anger and the active. I can name it all. Okay? It's because people are on this earth that probably shouldn't be on this earth. I hate to say it, but as soon as you contracted a disease, but see, here's the thing. I had a lot of, my own issues, PMDD. I didn't have any cancer, but I definitely, was rebellious. but I didn't have any cancer, but I had premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, through my whole ideology right now, should I have lived? Well, yeah, I mean, hey, everybody deserves a chance. But when you mess with Mother Nature, this is what comes out. Okay? So if we're going to continue to really love life, then we have to be consistent and actually make it a full life, not a half-assed life. Okay? And this is where it becomes controversial and political. And, you know, I don't know the answer, but you're already seeing the decay of society because there are people who are living that Mother Nature would have said, hey, no, and that includes me too. But here's the thing. Now we have a protocol, okay? Now we have a protocol that people can get their lives back. Now we have a protocol where you can actually refill your mineral reserves to where you actually have a chance to not glitch, not age, grow old, and glitch, and then potentially harm other people because of your thought process, because you are so invested in your holistic healing that you have a chance to actually change your society instead of contribute to the more degradation. But, you know, and so, you know, it really is up to each one of us to be that example of somebody who actually earned their place on earth, not buying time. And when you get vaccines, and when you don't get vaccines, and when you get all these procedures and you're turning to all of your pills, powder supplements, or chakra healings, or meditation, and all that stuff, you haven't really earned your place on this earth. You really have to bring in the right nutrients so you don't glitch. Because what's the point of living if you're glitching? What's the point of living if you're going to die anyways? What's the point? I mean, you want to make your quick bucks so you can, and then leave a legacy for your kids. Say, oh yeah, my mom was famous, and your kids are now, you know, trying to thrive on a body that is such at a deficit because you never fixed your issues, and they've inherited all of your issues. Is that the kind of world you want to leave them, in a world in chaos? Or do you actually want to have a part in changing the world? Though I think that you might think that, oh yeah, what you're doing is changing the world, but not if you're aging and you're degrading, you're going to die anyways in the near future. And then your kids are doing the same thing, and they're aging and glitching and then dying sooner because every generation is weaker. Okay? So, so Mother Nature is going to take back, you know, and that's already happening. I mean, I'm seeing people who are either dying at 50 and because they couldn't afford to buy themselves time. And so instead of making others miserable around them by glitching and causing more harm, they chose to pass away. But then we have people who are like, oh, I have the money to go and buy me time, but do I actually deserve it? No, I don't, but I'm still going to take it because that's the way our society is. We cherish life. And yes, life is cherished, but quality of life also should come into play. Okay? I mean, quality of life is huge. Just living and you don't have a quality life is really not the way to live, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, so, you know, and there's people who are in their 70s and 80s who, okay, they're contributing members of society, but they're also causing harm too in our society. I mean, they're getting into car accidents, victims of crime, okay? Because when you're that old, you're going to be a victim. And then it's going to then trigger a predator. And so then I'm talking to my friend about, like, you know, the predator and the prey are going to be the ones that are going to then succumb to a major aggressive virus that not even a vaccine is going to help you. Not even the best turpentine or detox that you make up in your kitchen is going to help you. The weak people in our society are going to succumb because it's only inevitable. How many times are you going to reproduce on a body that is at a deficit? And you're already seeing the evidence out there. Just listen to your police scanner. Watch the news. You can stick your head in the sand only so long. Those of you are like, I don't watch TV, I only watch Netflix, or I don't watch TV, or I don't watch anything, because you want to stick your head in the sand. You know, when people say, oh yeah, people who watch TV are brainwashed, no, the people that don't watch TV don't want to live in reality. They want to pretend that everything is wonderful and everything beautiful and all about Nibiru and you know, the Pleiadians and how you want to leave this earth and go live on another galaxy, but you don't want to deal with the reality of what you just created here in our society, here on this earth. So I think those of you who want to stay away from TV and stay away from mainstream media are probably brainwashed, if not more. Okay, so y'all have a choice in the matter here. But it's not the food supply. The food supply never changed from way back when. It's gotten far more advanced. And my body is going to be able to actually negotiate and get better nutritional benefit from the processed foods. You know why? Because I'm not over mineralized. I don't have stagnancy in my lymph nodes. But those of you who are trying to play the avoidance game have stagnancy and have malfunctions that you can only play the discriminatory game because you can't handle your environment, and it shows. But I can eat anything without being afraid, and I don't have to politicize it. I will eat pork. I will eat meat. I will eat popcorn. I will eat whatever I want and gain nutritional benefit from it, as long as it's FDA approved. No, I'm not going to drink Drano because it has minerals. No, that's a high concentration of minerals. It's not been FDA approved. But those of you who are playing the discrimination game, your days are numbered. If you have to stay away from meat and milk and all this other stuff, your days are numbered. And you're not doing the J juice. If you're doing the J juice, then hey, whatever, have your politics. Because you're doing something for your body, and then you'll eat the food based upon your lifestyle. So if you're going to be throwing steel and driving a truck, you may want to switch your diet to not just vegetarian and jelly juice, but maybe a few steaks here and there, a hamburger here with a little bit of cheese and some mayonnaise. Okay. So yeah, your lifestyle is predicated upon, your diet. And if we didn't have all of these luxuries of the privilege of just sitting out there on the beach, being on a computer, being a keyboard warrior, you would probably want to eat a steak so that way you can go and build nations or whatever if we were at that point. But we're not. Now, Mother Nature is going to start weeding out the useless eaters. And I bet you the Georgia Guidestones knew this. Whoever the guy, R.C. Washington. And I was looking him up going like, who is this dude? And there's nothing about, CNN actually had an article about him, but then they took it off. I guess they were afraid of the backlash. But the Georgia Guidestones is so freaking right on. And that was erected back in the 1980s when I grew up. I was born in 74. So I wasn't old enough to know about the Georgia Guidestones, but it was erected back in the 1980s. And they talk about guiding reproduction wisely. They talk about that, that from 7 billion people to 500 million is what they project. Now, I don't know what year they project that, but then you look at the Daigle report and they're showing that, 1/3 of the U.S. or 2/3 of the U.S. is going to be gone in 2025. Well, I can only imagine, because how many of you are that weak? How many of you are not getting your vaccines, but you're turning to your holistic stuff and your chakra healing stuff, and you're not doing J juice, and then you have an aggressive virus that covers the planet. And even a vaccine wouldn't help you because you're that weak. I can see that actually as a possibility. And I think whoever wrote the Georgia Guidestones knew. They know it because they see this. They already studied, like I just studied the history just the last couple of weeks, just looking at Genghis Khan and the Tartars and all the different things that happened way back in the 1300s, and then the Silk Road, and then the bubonic plague, and then, oh yeah, the first vaccine, and the bubonic plague triggered the first vaccine because they don't want to have a decimation of 200 million people anymore. But then when you reproduce on bodies that are highly traumatized, now you're gonna have glitching in the population, and you'll have war, and you'll have famine, and you'll have predator and prey, and you will have TV and drama and newspapers and art and everything. You have our societies based upon the fact that we've allowed people to live when Mother Nature deemed them really shouldn't have lived. But we found a way to manipulate. But it will only happen for so long because Mother Nature does not like an imbalance. Mother Nature will keep the balance. I don't care what you think that you can do. So the thing with the chemtrails, don't worry, Mother Nature will keep the balance. That's not your issue. But I'm watching some of you guys completely just unravel all over Facebook. And that is your imbalances just being projected so loud. It's quite amusing to actually watch once you actually figure out what the hell is going on. So yeah, a lot of us are, not me, but a lot of you are living on borrowed time. Mother Nature already deemed you dead a long time ago, but our modern medicine has kept you alive. But remember, Mother Nature does take back those privileges if you haven't earned them. And that's why you have a lifespan. The medical industry and the vaccine industry gave you guys a freaking insurance policy. They gave you a gift. And I was watching the Bill Gates thing, and I'm like, God, he put great water out there in some parts of Africa, India. He's trying to help the world, and then we have people who are mischaracterizing him and everything. And, you know, he's aging, and you know, but he really has a vision of the world where everybody lives. But then, you know, with everybody living who's glitching, what kind of world are we creating or sustaining? He has the right idea, but, you know, when you're like 60 or 50 years old and your mind isn't all there, and then you're partaking in practices that are actually harming people, not aligned with human body, and you're aging and degrading, and you're going to die anyways. I mean, I saw this guy named Travis, whatever, and he was all indignant that I was saying that, you know, pork isn't bad or something. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe you support pork eating and all this stuff. I'm like, you know, you shouldn't eat pork. I'm like, you know, there's such a diverse food supply. You shouldn't have to play the discrimination game. But if you do, it's because your body is forcing you to stay away from certain foods, or you're politicizing food, at which then you're causing war. You're causing division. And so if you have malfunctions, you shouldn't impose that upon other people, because that's what the religious people do, is they stay away from pork. That's what the holistic people do. The vegetarians do. They're, oh, stay away from meat because it's so horrible, because they're imposing their own weaknesses on other people. People live through the lens of their own reality, and it's a tunnel vision. And then they start making you wrong and shaming you and all this other stuff. And really, they're just glamorizing their own weaknesses, because that's what it is. Politics is about glamorizing your own weaknesses, living your own reality, and then finding like-minded, kindred spirits, people with the same, you know, kind of biochemistry. Oh yeah, you're dying of cancer, so am I. Hey, let's be friends. Oh, you see it all over. Look at all the groups you guys hang out with. How many people that you're hanging out with that are aging and degrading, but you're softening the blow by saying, oh, it's okay to die. It's okay. I'll see you on the other side. We'll see you on the next plane. I'll see you in Nibiru. I'll see you in Pleiadian, you know, the Pleiadian, whatever. No, no. So anyways, yeah, it's not the food supply that's changed. It's people's bodies have changed. And the fact that modern medicine gave us an insurance policy. But Mother Nature will take her due. Mother Nature, well, the devil will take her due. But Mother Nature will keep the balance. So, you know, we can only play these games for so long of how long can we manipulate the body to do this, that, and that, and how many herbs can we put together to go and combat cancer. And then 2 generations later down the road, when the kid is just like, you know, really like half dead and they have cancer, you think all of your herbs, because you're going to need stronger herbs because they're going to be immune to all the different herbs because it's already been out there. And then they take an herb, or they take a vaccine, or they take a chemotherapy and immunotherapy, and then they don't survive it. How many times are you going to create the same thing in a lab on bodies that are getting weaker and weaker and weaker? The fact that we have stronger bodies has given the biotech an insurance policy too. It's given them specimens that are able to survive their experiments. Okay? But no, you know, as we keep reproducing on mutated bodies, all of these immunotherapies and these herbs and things of that nature they're putting, you know, trying to stop the cancer is not going to work. It'll actually kill the person. And then everything else, you won't be able to, people that are so weak won't be able to handle anything in the food supply. They can't be around any detergents. They can't be around any toothpaste. They can't be around any pesticides. They have to live in a bubble. And that's what those of you who are not doing JJs are creating, is a bubble society, which then, you know, actually it's the balance. Because eventually those of you who are that weak and promoting things that are causing people to be that weak and not be able to handle their environment, Mother Nature will just take them out. The viruses, the pestilence will just level the playing field. And it'll be just like another bubonic plague. And that's what I'm thinking the Georgia Guidestones already knew this. And people are saying, oh yeah, it's a 5G, which, you know, here's the thing. Imbalanced people conspiring to kill a population, they may be able to get away with it for a little bit. But humans have ingenuity. We're crafty. We found a protocol that can supersede the 5G, that will be able to be immune to the chemtrails, if people think that's another way to kill off the planet or keep the population down, or whatever in the food supply. Because yes, if on a weak body, highly mineralized food is going to put somebody in a higher mineral toxicity. 5G, it's faster, but if you have a weak body, yes, you're going to succumb. So yeah, I mean, it could potentially be true. So maybe it behoove you to strengthen your body instead of telling everybody, oh, avoid, try to stop the 5G. Because I'm sorry, but it's not just the 5G and the chemtrails. Let's say you stop the chemtrails. Say you stop the 5G. Let's say you stop Monsanto and you shut down other organizations. You can't stop the viruses, because guess what? The viruses have always been here ever since freaking before man. And you know how they strengthen? Because you guys keep getting sick and you're communicable, and then you strengthen that virus. Okay? So just simply avoiding Monsanto and processed foods and 5G and chemtrails and who the hell knows what vaccines is not going to stop a virus from taking you guys down. Okay? Because if your body is that weak, and then you guys are all communicable, strengthening the viruses, that's going to be another bubonic plague. And then history does repeat itself. Because reproduction is based upon a death trajectory. That's why reproduction happens, because a body is degrading. It doesn't want to have extinction. And so guess what? The baby is like taking, that's why when women get morning sickness and they get sick and they look like hell sometimes. Like, I just had a baby, they're in postpartum and they have circles under their eyes and their body's misshapen and they lost all of their figure because the baby just took their whole body, they took away their life force. And so now they're only a shell of themselves. And they try, and then if you're young enough and you can bounce back, okay, you look cute, but you're still at a deficit. And the baby took something, and the baby isn't fully to its full potential, because it still is inherited all of your shortcomings and malfunctions. And then being in our new society, all the viruses and everything else it's exposed to is going to compound their already said weaknesses. Okay? And so then every generation, it compounds, the weaknesses compound every generation. And then it's not going to matter what vaccine or what herb or what immunotherapy or what procedures out there. Now we're going to have some pretty interesting, or we're going to have either sterility, or we're going to have humans that are going to be useless. Or they're going to have to do artificial wombs. And that's when the government's going to have to go in and do those artificial wombs and create the population, because they can't trust the population to create well-balanced babies. And I'm already seeing it. People are having babies and they're not well-balanced. And I can only imagine what they're going to be like when they're children, when they're adults. It sucks to be the one to say that. And we hope that they are so wanting to live that they will find a way to overcome their challenges. But we have a lot of people that don't have the will to make themselves better, and then the way they're raised and then the environment they're in is only going to make them worse or make them better. I mean, that's the thing with stem cells. You take a very healthy stem cell and you put it in a crappy ass environment, it's going to rise to the level of that expectation. Okay? But you take like the J juice, and you change the environment in the body, the cells are going to rise to the level of the environment. Okay, so, and right now, all these different families out there, it's a crapshoot how these children are going to end up. It sucks. And then yeah, we're gonna see all this. So I'm kind of immune to all of the crap in the news, because we're only going to see more of it. You guys expect it. You're going to see more death. You're going to see more predatory and prey behavior. You're going to see more victims. It's, and you can stop watching news, that's fine. But you have to live in reality, but that this is what we're creating unless we can get a hold of the balance in our body and be that example for our friends and family. And stop promoting cannabis. Because that actually is going to really, it's going to worsen things exponentially. Because the more drugged out our population is that already has weaknesses, the less impetus they're going to want to change their life, and they'll glitch more, or they'll commit suicide. We already have kids that are smoking pot because they're so depressed, and it makes them even worse. Then they won't even have a desire to actually make their life better because they're so drugged out. We really have to start teaching our friends and our family and our kids to face the pain, not anesthetize ourselves with drugs. That is the major problem in our society, is the drug addicts. And those are the ones that are causing a lot of issues too, because there's no growth when you're doing drugs. You just loop and you teach the same thing that you did, and you've made mistakes. And so yes, some kids will rise above their circumstances, and other kids will completely just glitch and go off the deep end. Some kids get a really bad dose of genetics. Other kids got the best genetics. And that is a crapshoot in families. But then you add drugs to it, then forget it. There's no chance. So it's time that we actually start learning how to face the pain and deal with it, and do the J juice, deal with the pain. Try not to promote cannabis on people who are not doing J juice, because it's only going to make it worse. Teach people how to face the pain out there. Be strong enough. Not put your head in the sand or your head in the ocean and pretend that you live in a bubble where nothing bad exists, because you live inside where it does. And every single one of us does contribute. And we are a reflection of our neighbors and our friends and our family. So your work isn't done just because you've healed yourself. You live in a world full of people that you have to deal with. We don't have 60,000 people doing J juice, where we can have our own little community with, we have doctors, lawyers, teachers, plumbers, drywall artists, or whatever. No, we have to actually ask people who have issues, can you please build my house? Can you please do this? And you have to hope that they actually are sober enough to build your house or fix your car. So maybe if we were examples to those people, that maybe we would have a very well-balanced society. But thank God we have regulations and we have authority to say, okay, are you licensed? But even then, just because you're licensed doesn't mean that you're actually, sober doing it. Okay, so anyways, so life expectancy is based upon that we've cheated Mother Nature, because Mother Nature I should have died a long time ago. Luckily, I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. But, we're not going to be that lucky down the road, because look at the next generation of children. Some of us have really great genes and we're producing really awesome children. Other of us had some pretty crazy ass childhoods and we're producing children that, oh my God. Just look at your Facebooks. Look at every single one of your Facebooks, and look at all the parents, look at all the children, and then you can kind of see, and then you start doing the math on everything. And you're like, holy crap, there's more imbalances than there are balanced people. Because I do see some very beautiful people on my Facebook. Very good looking families, kids are beautiful, and everybody's lovey-dovey, which I know what you put out there on Facebook isn't necessarily the truth. But I know some of these families personally, so I already know that they're very well balanced. For the most part, they have health issues, but they're very close-knit. And so the kid's gonna be okay. But then I see other families where, oh my God, one kid's gonna be a crazy, holy crap. The other kids, they're gonna be okay. The other kids gonna be like yeah. And so, yeah. So, just look at the prison system. That ought to tell you exactly how we're raising our children and then what we are promoting. So, yeah, life is great, but quality of life is better. And, Mother Nature, unless you guys strengthen your weaknesses, you're not going to survive this next reset, especially if they're already predicting that 2/3 of the US is going to be gone in 2025, which, I can't promise you that's going to happen. But considering that we have the Ebola virus still kind of hanging around Africa, and they already have a vaccine for that, and we already know people's bodies are so weak, you think you can handle the Ebola vaccine or the virus? It's going to be some scary shit once it lands on American soil. And if they don't quarantine somebody and it's running rampant, people are going to be freaking scared shitless. They're going to be going to the urgent care, getting those vaccines, and then you're going to see some major glitching. Because I'm telling you, getting a vaccine does give you the transition, but some people have very weak bodies. They're going to react adversely to it. That's the whole point of vaccines. Vaccines is a way to transition to a new environment. Jelly juice is like a vaccine in a way, but in a different way. It's helping you transition to a better body because you're now finally putting your organs and your cells in a better environment. It's not degrading. Now it's finally able to live. Vaccines are saying, hey, you're going to be entering into an environment that's pretty aggressive. We're going to try to help you transition so you don't die. So imagine if once the Ebola virus comes to America and they start putting out the vaccine and people are scared shitless going to these urgent cares, and then everybody's having adverse reactions and some bodies are weaker than others, and then people are going to see them like hemorrhage and all. It's going to be a freaking crime scene. I hope that the vaccines aren't as strong, but you don't know how people's bodies are going to react because some people have weaker system than others. But that's because we have allowed modern medicine to intercept Mother Nature. It's pretty crazy. But I can predict now. It's so easy to predict now that I've looked at history, looked at the patterns, okay? Just reading the internet, you can find the patterns. It's not that difficult. And once you get off the politics, you'll actually open your mind to be like, hey, yeah, vaccines were there for a reason. Holy shit. And then why we have this explosion in population, but why we're living longer but glitching longer. And it's not because of Monsanto. It's not because of the chemtrails or the 5G. It's the fact that we have people reproducing on bodies that never resolved their generational issues. And then we allow people to keep procreating on those type of bodies. And then, there you go. So that's why people died in the 50s, in the 1960s. Because people allowed Mother Nature to do what it needed to do. People died back in their 30s, back in the 1300s. Because their bodies were weaker back then. And people died at childbirth. Babies were dying at childbirth back in the 1300s. So the vaccines actually gave people a chance to live and invent ways to make society better. And no, we haven't been perfect, but we've allowed enough people to live to be able to then put together our heads and take all of the substantiated knowledge so that we can put it all together and harness the elements. And now we've figured out a way to prolong life, if not indefinitely, okay? And now it's up to all of you to go and exemplify that or succumb with the rest. So I got lucky being out of Vietnam. I got really lucky because I was set to die back then. So now you guys have a chance to do something with your life. You have this opportunity of the J juice. Stop playing footsie with it. All right, I gotta go. Talk to you later. Bye.